towards missing, lost and found or displaced children, not just for the victims or the survivors, the children themselves, but also for their families. A lot of families call our helpline all the time, and each case, if you find a child has been found, there's still a family member that will call, what about my child? We know that families have broken up, families have disintegrated, they've grown weaker because of just the aspect of a missing child, or even the small incidents of a child who got lost and has been found again. There's a blame game. So psychosocial support, Sophie, it comes in strongly and is part of what we are looking towards building up our muscle on. Up next, please continue fielding your questions, and for all the panelists, please answer the questions so that we can have a comprehensive webinar where everyone's query has been responded to. Thank you very much, everyone who is still on this webinar, and thank you for being part of this conversation. Our next speaker is Evan Munga. I will just talk a little bit about Evan and have him come on board to talk about what he does. Evans is a graduate and postgraduate holder in development studies, leadership and management from the University of Nairobi and DePaul University in Chicago. Currently, he's the program manager at the African Network for the Prevention and Protection Against Child Abuse and Neglect at the regional office. The abbreviation for his organization is ANCAN. He was the African representative for youth and children with the Child Helpline International, CHI, which is based in the Netherlands from 2014 to 2016. He was also a national curriculum developer on social development studies with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Studies from 2013 to 2017. He's a highly committed, strategic and dynamic leader and professional with over 5 years experience in child protection and community and livelihood development programs. He's skilled in resource mobilization with experience in proposal writing. He has participated in the development of the National Case Management and Referral Guidelines for Children in Kenya. He has also supported and facilitated in development of the National Plan of Action for Coordination of Human Trafficking Cases in Kenya, and supported the development of school-related gender-based violence standard operating procedures with the Teachers Service Commission and other actors. Evans, welcome.
Thank you so much. It is good evening and good day wherever you are across the world. Mine, I think, is to be brief because my colleagues have spoken a lot of what I could have mentioned. But like you've heard, my name is Evan Munga. I work for an organization called AMCAN. AMCAN is African Network for the Prevention and Protection Against Child Abuse and Neglect at the regional office. Concerning or relating to the theme of today, that is a harmonized response to children who may be lost and found or who are vulnerable. We, as ANCAN, we have programs that are related to that, and I will quickly refer to two, which I think my previous speaker, Job Osewe, alluded to. That is child trafficking and unsafe migration program, which we're partnering with them, that we're working in the 4 counties that he mentioned. And of course, a sexual CSEC program that is, we're working with them as well. So he mentioned the 5 P's approach that we use to ensure that services are geared to those children who are either found to be lost, who need care and protection because maybe they are found to be lost, or those who are. And towards that end, I think I will start with the CT program, that is the child trafficking program. Again, Heart Kenya, through Stacy, mentioned a lot of things that I think I don't want to mention because of time. She alluded to Kenya being a tier 2, that is to in terms of response and protection, and of course cooperation between government and other key actors. That's according to the report of the TIP report of 2019 that came out, that ranks Kenya as in that rank. That is, there is some little collaboration. There are some level of effort that need to be put to address instances of child trafficking. So one may ask, why children are found to be lost. And why are we linking this program that I mentioned? Some of these factors comes in handy when we talk about children who are trafficked. Neglect is one of the factors that leads a child either to be found lost and therefore being a subject of vulnerability towards the traffickers. And you find that to be quite a lot in the rural Kenya. And I will, towards my presentation, I think I will mention some of those. And of course, when you talk about poverty, is a key, we call it a push factor that leads children to be trafficked. You find children, because of poverty levels in the families, they go out either in one way or the other, do some odd jobs, and in one way or the other, they find themselves being vulnerable for being trafficked. Therefore, the program that we're working together with Teledesk Homes that focuses on how to children are well protected, are well prevented, and all the mechanisms are put in place to ensure that levels of all factors that leads towards those children being trafficked are suppressed. The program works in Busia, Kenya, because it's a porous border between Kenya and Uganda. In those areas, we're working across from Teso South and Teso North, for those of us who know the geographical demarcation of that county, because those children, because of the porous nature of the border, you find those children move across the countries in search of either because of cheap labor, maybe, or because of the way the border is, and they are more susceptible to be trafficked for purposes of maybe to be used as sexual, in terms of sexual sex tourism. Those there are those that are used as in the households, so they be found to be more vulnerable when they are in that end. So of course, in Busia, we have another program that CSEC that seeks to reinforce those weak hands of trafficking. That is CSEC. Trafficking again works in Nairobi, because Nairobi, you find that children from Busia, from Marsabit, from Mandera find themselves in Nairobi. So Nairobi becomes the epicenter where those children maybe are relocated because of the workings of perpetrators and their networks and their collaborators. So they find themselves in Nairobi for cheap labor, working in the suburbs, or they are being rerouted to the other countries, like in the midterms.